Feels good to be back on a Tuesday morning. How was your night? That's a regular question every single, well, I could say some Nigerians love to ask at the workplace. How was your night? How was your night?
When they ask me that, my automatic response is it was dark and lovely. Because how am I supposed to know what my night, if I'm sleeping, it's dark and lovely.
Come on, relax, Binga. You came with a lot of fire. But then again, I told our viewers, we're saying, hope you had a good night rest. I think that's the best way to ask that question. As for us here, we are indeed alive, thankful, and we're looking forward to 3 hours, not 2, of very interesting conversations around Nigeria's political, social, you name it, whatever landscape. We're ready to indeed land on it and break the tables if we need to. I'm Joe Hansen saying good morning and welcome.
And I'm Binga Joe Hansen, by the way, national colors, beautiful, lovely combination, rice and beans, great.
It's giving
not really, but this is giving it. It's looking very sharp as always. I mean, you're used to it. This is your lifestyle. So let me move on from the kudos to give those to give honor to whom honor is due. Wonderful viewers, welcome to Breakfast Central. This is where we make the magic happen. The best, the best place to start your day. Yes, start your day right with us here on Breakfast Central. Yeah, that's it. Warming up, and we have insightful discussions. Just name it. We have a dose of everything you need. So grab your copy, sit back, and relax. I am Benga Aboroa.
And I am Olive Emodi. Really, really grateful to be here. It's quite a morning and an interesting one. Yesterday was very exciting for me because I had the pleasure of sharing my friend's joy. I want to use this opportunity to give a big shout out to Ayomari Ese, who's just announced her pregnancy to the world. And you know, after waiting for years, you both
double joy.
You know, it's after waiting for years. I think it's something that should be celebrated.
And everybody deserves a friend like Olive. This girl right here will even big you up more than yourself.
Wow.
She celebrates people genuinely. You can see that everybody deserves a friend like Olive. And congratulations to you, Ayo. We celebrate you and your bundle of joys.
Amen.
Double joy. Double.
Anyway, let's move on now to other conversations we have. Ogun State, and we'll of course be starting with some conversations in Ogun State. I believe Johansson has that.
Absolutely. I mean, if we're going to look at that story, we're going to go first. Yes, let's go first to Oshu State. You want to say?
Yeah, I think we'll come back to it later. Director, I don't want to tell us some things that are not palatable, but I think our director communicates.
Are you warning the director not to be taken?
Subtly warning her because I'm a gentleman. I'm not going to warn her on national TV.
Okay. Director, be careful. You try to
director,
tell us.
Yeah.
Yes, if not, you won't like what you are going to see, director.
Okay. Let's start with police matters in Lagos.
Police stories. First wake-up conversation focuses on a very sad story I came across yesterday. It showed an e-hailing cab driver who was assaulted physically by a police officer. The story is not too clear, but whatever the story is, the circumstances around that story was completely unprofessional. It wasn't good. This video you're about to see, we must warn you. We don't want it to spoil your morning, but it's just for you to be aware of what's really happening. And we also have an update as a follow-up to the story. But first of all, the video shows a e-hailing cab driver being assaulted by a police officer while 2 ladies behind who were seated inside the same cab which they were riding in, were seen videoing this situation and were also calling on the officer to please stop. But take a look at the video for yourself. We'll be right back.
Are you mad? 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 Jesus, why are they beating him up?
No, we have to actually go and stay there. Stay in the car. Will you just stay in the car?
He just started beating me. They didn't even let the guy was trying to record. They seized his phone, and this man is just not all of them. Just this one that is holding him. So, why are they doing this?
The policeman don't drag the guy, don't start the beat for 1 hour.
Oh my God. They're already fighting. They're already fighting. Hope they cannot see me before they collect my phone. Jesus. Why are they beating him up?
What a shame.
Very pathetic.
What an embarrassment, you know.
I mean, and this happens, just thank God for mobile phones and cameras to record this sort of things. This is what Nigerians go through every day. I really don't know what sort of training the men and officers of the Nigerian police go through, but we had the NSAS protest. We saw the results of that. It was because of constant police brutality and harassment. They need to know that it's a volunteer force. Nobody conscripted you to join the Nigerian police. The fact that you're doing it does not mean you're better than a carpenter, than a driver. It's a profession, and you should be professional about it. So just because you're carrying arms doesn't mean you have a right to assault civilians on the slightest provocation. And I'm glad the police authorities have done something about it, regardless of what happens. There's a standard operational procedures for effecting an arrest, if that's what you want to do, or questioning suspects, not assaulting and making it result in grievous bodily harm. It's this 2025. They need to respect human rights and do better.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the SP of police, Josephine Ede, did put out a statement as soon as that happened. Not just her, also you had as well another spokesperson for the police who equally put out a statement as well concerning that assault viral video. But if we do have the statements that were put out by the police, let's also take a look at that. We'll have that shortly on the screen. It also clarifies that they were and are aware. They said the police officer, Inspector Obik Modestus, I like the fact that they mentioned his name, yes, has been summoned by the Complaint Response Unit, CRU, Lagos Police, of course, mentioning the police. He will be handed over to the Provost Department for appropriate disciplinary measures. The Lagos State Police Command under CP Olundare Jimo will not condone any form of incivility to members of the public. He goes ahead to say, and that's the police officer right there.
Obik Modestus.
You know, Modestus.
So calm and agile.
He's calm and agile at the same time. I don't understand that. Okay, he's calm and free.
No, he's exactly
agile.
agile.
It's time for action. You know, I think I've been thinking about it very carefully because it's quite sad. Just last week we talked about a police officer in Abuja. Of course, is it the CSO or the CP, if I remember, in Abuja, who was, you know, training the officers in the conversation.
Yes, the Commissioner of Police.
Commissioner of Police.
FCT Command.
FCT, yes. Thanks for bringing me back to that. And he made it clear that, listen, you can't do this. There are certain things you can't do. It's borderline human rights violation.
Exactly.
It's just clear. It's obvious. And if he says that, and in other words, he's teaching the police officers, then you now have people, other police officers, who just, you know, vehemently ignore what is not stated or is not taught in the police academy, and then you go ahead and assault, you know, civilians. It makes me wonder why. I don't know.
Olive, what do you make of this assault?
Terrible. A reminder that we're not quite done with the struggles of NSAS 2020. A reminder that we have so much work to do, really. We have a lot of work to do when it comes to police brutality, and I'm hoping that citizens as well can take double measures to protect themselves. For example, if you can, I think it's imperative at this point that we all put some sort of hidden cameras in our
I'm going to, it should be there.
I mean,
dashboard camera,
boot camera everywhere.
It's your word against theirs, and by the time it might be too late for you to come.
No evidence. Yeah.
There's no evidence. Imagine that video. Imagine that video was not filmed. We would have not known what's happening.
I mean, Inspector Obik Modestus would have been out today looking for other people to assault if that video, if those guys were recorded.
That he will still not be out tomorrow looking for other people to assault. What's the worst they will do to him? A number of times they tell us we're going to face disciplinary action, and we don't hear that. We don't hear that much again. We just get a sense that maybe they take them off the radar for a bit, and after a while, what if they bring them back into the system? Who is following up? Do we know? Do we know because we assign them to another zone? So we really don't know what
I remember,
level of discipline this.
I remember when I was on radio, I was in a cab, and then the cops pulled over. They pulled over the cab, the taxi driver, and he explained. And I came out to identify myself that, look, I'm not a criminal. My name is Benga, I'm a journalist.
You that have they look at you like a serious
you, journalist. He said, you know how many lawyers I don't lock up? Bro, after he said that lawyer, because in society, lawyers seem to be higher than journalists, I just humble myself. Say, Inspector, we don't lock up. Many lawyers, ordinary journalists want to talk.
So I think
that's an intimidation.
You just have to try your best to try your best to protect yourself. Go everywhere you're going to identification as much as you can. Go around to identification. If you can in your car, get a camera. This, I know that's a very privileged ask for those who, and this is for those who have cars, because if you are in Danfo or you are in a taxi, an e-hailing app.
Wear body cam.
So we should then insist that the police start to wear body cam. But then they will still find ways to manipulate.
They will say the battery that DP would not give them money
for
for battery. They didn't charge the battery.
Mobilization for the
It's true. But Inspector Obik Modestus, Obik, is he related to Obik Kubana?
His has a C. Obik.
So this is for Kubana, what he's trying to say. As for Obik.
Inspector Obik Modestus, please do better. We want to know the result of your orderly room trial, and since the police has been transparent enough to name you as the person responsible for the assault on the alien driver, it would be nice to follow up and also know how this pans out. Okay.
I agree, and I think we have a lot to talk about. We have to follow up with this story, and hopefully the police would be able to, give us an update. We just hope they
should also serve as a lesson to other policemen that those days of assaulting and beating up civilians are over. You don't have a right to do that. They should. I mean, it's not professional.
Okay.
Well, talking about the police, there was another video that was in circulation yesterday where a police officer was addressing a group of youths, and he was telling them that no police officer has the right to tell you to bring your phone so that they can search or open your phone for them. This is the video. Just take a look and see how, in celebration, the youths, we can't recall what area this is, but this was, but just take a listen.
When the police say, bring your phone, let me search him. Tell him, your guy say, we should not give you our phone.
First time.
What's the meaning of that music?
I don't understand. I think
it's to ginger the message.
I think they had a speaker there, it was mixed with the video, so for special effects in the air. The music entered. But did the message enter?
The message over enter.
This same message has been passed almost every 2 years or every AK market day. They always pass the same
and
message.
also the same message of no more stop and search.
Except they have a warrant to do
exactly.
so.
No more checkpoints. Repeated messages, but does the message trickle down to the rank and file?
I mean, the police has a right to request for it.
But you're invading someone's privacy. If you don't have a warrant or if you don't have reasons to, why would you check my phone? Did anybody make a complaint?
Your phone is even as private. I say the way that back in the day, when I was in law school, how they taught us that arrest used to happen is a far cry from what I came out
to witness. The practical is different from the theory.
It's different. They will tell you then, or they will teach you, or they taught us then, that if they come to search your house and they show you a search warrant, before they search your house, you search the police officer first. How many people have the nerve to search a police officer first?
Yes, so they don't come to your house.
So you can't claim that they planted anything in your house. You search them first. After you search them, then they can search your house, or then they can search you. So it's like, oh, don't come and plant anything on me. I need to be sure that your hands are clean. And it's just really sad. I don't see anybody that will tell you that, oh, the police came to search me and the first thing I did was tell them, Excuse me, officer, I need to search you first.
Wow.
The officer really
Now I understand why Olive is not practicing. That thing broke her heart.
Yeah,
She moved to journalism straight,
trying to do
where our reality is more practical.
Okay.
Talking about practicality, Abby.
Let's now move to somewhere where they are giving us practicality in governance and in
Yes.
cutting costs and cost control in a world and in a country where corruption seems to be a fight that we've had, and where citizens seem to be blaming the government for not living within their means and living extraordinarily, asking citizens to cut their coat according to their cloth, but while the government is not doing the same. Well, somebody seems to be doing differently and maybe living up to the expectation of Nigerian citizens. We'll see. Let's take a look at the governor of Osun State, Governor Adeleke, as he tells us practically how he's managing Osun State.
Father, the former president of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, members of Osun State Assembly Council here present, our Baba Oni of Ife, Obadieye Enito, Ogunwusi, my Abu, the celebrant, Are Akirogun, Dele Momodu, and his lovely wife and beautiful wife.
Of time, we will not be able to allow that conversation linger. It goes on and on until he got to that point where he now made the statement. But hopefully, let's see in the course of the conversation.
What the statement?
Okay, he made a statement that he has not borrowed any money. Rather, he has continued to run the state without having to, borrow money here and there. He has ensured that the state is run successfully. He has managed the affairs of running the state without borrowing. In other words, the IGR, internally generated revenue of the state, is what he has indeed been able to manage effectively for the people of Osun State.
I mean, this is a fiscally independent and responsible governor.
Absolutely.
Which is how a number of states is run. It doesn't every month. I think that states now need to find ways to not run cap in hand to federal government at the end of the month, waiting for federal allocation. Look for ways to generate your own internally generated revenue and ensure that you can keep your state running without allocation from the federal.
But even the federal allocation has increased because of savings from fuel subsidy. But what is the real value of that increase when you factor in inflation? So we're still back to square one.
I think governors now receiving, another governor had come out, my memory fails me, I did see his speech. He said he was giving kudos to the president and said, gone are the days where they were receiving lesser than 1 billion, and now they're receiving that. So in other words, whether we like it or not, President Tinubu has done one very good thing to all subnationals. So all subnationals trickling down to the local government, they now have more funds. They now have more money. The question is, will they be able to give the citizens the dividends of democracy now that they have monies? Will they say, we don't really
that's
have
the most
enough?
important question.
They have now. They've always had it. In short, the president is going to mark 2 years in a bit, and in the spate of 2 years, 1 year since he got into office, the governors were now receiving more federal allocations. And it's well enough for you to say you want to borrow. If any governor should say he wants to borrow, then I think he should be checked. But so far,
no, I mean, sometimes there's nothing bad in credit. I mean, if you look at most successful businessmen and also countries, people borrow. Is what you do with the money, and are you fiscally responsible to follow through? Because borrowing, you might have capital-intensive projects that you cannot. I mean, you're not going to owe people salaries because you're working on a project. So once you do that project, you've seen the economic viability of the project, you've done your SWOT analysis, you've seen the benefits of it. You could go ahead as long as you could pay back and it wouldn't have any adverse effects on your health status, your financial status as a state. Then go ahead and do it. What we often see is some of them resort to legacy projects like having, I mean, this is no shade to anybody, international airports in the middle of nowhere that is not commercially viable. You have just 3 flights in a whole month. Why are you doing that? Most governors want to do it. Exactly, legacy. Yes, not
trying to meet
white elephant projects and legacy projects.
Speaking of, what the citizens need, a friend of mine who lives in Magodo was saying to me that the fact that the Supreme Court has given local government autonomy, and he's starting to feel the effect of local government autonomy. And I asked how. And he said that his streets, where he grew up in, for the past over 30 years, that road has remained untarred.
Since Adam and Eve, the normal ground, since that time. There are streets like that in this Lagos.
Yes. But that they recently tarred those streets in December. The one that, in fact, they used the interlocking tiles in front of his house, the street behind him, and that he was very surprised, pleasantly surprised, and he found that it was because of the local government allocation. I mean, I thought, okay, that's interesting.
But they're still holding their money. It's just the governors are giving them little by little.
Yeah, they're still holding that. Anyway,
so it's a conversation we should actually have.
Yeah, he lives in Lagos.
Central. With the local government chairman.
But it's Lagos.
Yes. Lagos.
So Lagos. I think Lagos is a bit different. I think since we could say maybe since the president, bases in Lagos, is based in Lagos, and then the governor. So maybe the allocation will start as an example.
In Lagos.
I mean,
his home state.
No, when we say
home state,
officially, I mean officially Abuja, but of course, his foothold is in Lagos as well.
Okay, let's move on now to The Rock. I'm trying to remember. There's something they call him. I've forgotten what but there's a fun name that the obedience call him.
No, they give Shishi.
No. Rock. So when you talk about, the way that the Bible talks about the rock, Okosisi or something like that, I think that's what they call him. I'm not really.
I know Okosisi is near to me, Hank. You know that supermarket.
Actually, with an Okosisi, that's true. Okay. Peter Obi, of course, was in Rome, and he went to celebrate with Pope Leo XIV. And because of all that celebrations and the interactions with Fayemi and the president, and the maybe misinterpretation by the media, the clarification by Bayo Ononuga, the media team did catch up with him to ask him his thoughts about the coalition government. Maybe they were expecting as well that he would not smile President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and it's like, we thought we were fighting with APC, fighting with the president. What is going on? Why are you being all chummy? Let's take a look at his response to some of the questions that the media asked him. Okay, we cannot bring the video now, but in the video he did say something in the lines of, I'm not fighting with Tinubu, I'm fighting bad governance, I'm fighting poverty. He said a number of things and then said he's in coalition with the citizens of Nigeria.
So it's not personal.
It's not personal.
Yeah.
Again, which goes back to what we said yesterday, that politicians can fight core ideologies and core principles. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're fighting each other, which is why I still believe that it wasn't necessary. All the shalaye
and they still attend each other's children's weddings, they socialize together. It's never personal. That's why it's good to be wealthy. On that level, wealthy people.
You fight issues, ideologies, interests, but it's never really to the point of you see each other and you walk past each other.
Cussing each other.
Tomorrow they'll still go on Twitter.
Insulting each other's parents. I mean, it's gutter on social media.
Politics. Yeah, it's gutter politics.
But then again, just to also highlight that, whilst we did talk about the PDP giving the potential of Peter Obi to be the vice president, or giving a slot to Peter Obi to be vice president, we've seen the rebuttal of that statement. They say that it's unfounded. It would seem that they're not, I think it was Eunice Tanko, I'm not sure, but we did see a press release that rebutted that. And
there's a press release
from the team saying that, that didn't happen, they're not aware of that. Again, goes back to the fact that Peter Obi is having conversations about the coalition with the Nigerian citizens. That's where his heart is. They haven't yet made a decision. There's still talks here and there about the possibility of a coalition government, but we'll continue to wait. We have had several guests who have shared their different ideas regarding the coalition. Even within the People's Democratic Party, there are people who are for, people who are against the coalition. The NNPP, we've seen same. So we know that the conversations will continue, but I'm sure that we can get a much clearer picture. But for now, let's believe that Peter Obi is not going in for vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party.
I mean, the segments were clear. I also stumbled on that video yesterday, and he made it clear. He said the only coalition he's going for is against hunger and the current situation the Nigerians are grappling with. It's also obvious that that statement was an indicator that he has put pen to paper to clearly state that he won't be looking at a coalition that will put him as a VP.
I mean, someone that gathered 12 million votes in 2023,
exactly.
it will be a demotion, right? I mean, it has all the right to go for the top office in the land. Why would he want to take a demotion?
But don't forget, too, that fingers were pointed at him and the Labour Party at the last elections in 2023. And the reason was that they said if the Labour Party only had, a partnership or were in tandem with the PDP, then they wouldn't have lost the election. They would have come towards, because they said he came to steal the votes. And then
if Labour Party
had
aligned with PDP, who would have then been the presidential candidate?
That's what we're saying, because he had left the party to, go to Labour Party. So, and then again, just yesterday, some political analysts on X were breaking it down that the PDP knows that they are in a struggle, just like our guest had also rightly said yesterday. So they need someone who would give them the upper hand, just put them there, give them upper arm, put them in a position where when they get to the elections, it will be a smooth sail. And who is that person? It's Peter Obi. But the question
and Nigerians are always quick to, in hindsight, vision is always 2020. Everybody is a genius in hindsight. You've seen what has happened, and then you analyze things hypothetically. It doesn't always work like that. And I was trying to get to a point, but let's move on.
I'm sure we'll pick that up as we proceed. But of course, we will be bringing you updates regarding the People's Democratic Party, Labour Party, or Progressives Congress. If we don't bring you these updates, who will? Let's now share what our top stories this morning are on Breakfast Central. This morning on our top stories, Peter Obi dispels the VP ambition, upholds hunger poverty coalition. Federal government, Borno government reviews strategies to combat attacks. Northern Nigeria has been in the news for the struggles with insecurity. SSANU and NASU reject 50 billion naira allowance sharing formula. Rivers piracy attacks. Families continue search for victims. Really sad. We've been bringing you updates regarding this story. And the newspaper front pages will be bringing you what the headlines are saying and analyzing them with you as well. Join us for all these and more. Presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 general elections, Peter Obi, has made it clear that he's only interested in a coalition against hunger and bad governance. Reports had surfaced suggesting that Obi was considered or being considered for a vice presidential role in a coalition led by former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar ahead of the 2027 elections. But Peter Obi, in his reaction, says his focus is on fighting hunger, poverty, and bad governance and not political positioning.
The Obedient Movement have also released a statement debunking the VP slot alliance. Peter Obi is calling for a coalition that prioritizes Nigeria's economic and social crisis over political power plays. Join us this morning at Breakfast Central is former governorship aspirant in Anambra State and Obedient General for a new Nigeria movement, Honorable Ikenna Azomchine. One welcome to you and thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning to you. Good morning.
Now, Honorable Azomchine, good morning. When you saw that news of possible VP slot being offered to His Excellency Peter Obi, how did you react? I see you're smiling.
I always say you hardly see where a towing van is being towed. Or have you seen one recently in Nigeria? A towing van being towed by another vehicle. Have you seen that recently? Did you hear what I said?
Yes, it's very rare.
We haven't seen that.
When last did you see a towing van being towed by another vehicle? It's just a question.
Not at all.
You hardly see that. Yeah. So don't ask me about Peter Obi and Atiku. Atiku is a retired stakeholder. He's an elder statesman. Obi is a son he has that has everything. He has all the weapons to solve the problems of Nigeria. I'm shocked that I'm still hearing this narrative. We have to go straight to the issues. Atiku is going to support Obi, and Obi will be president to actualize those dreams he has.
What?
We've said this before. I saw some news in the obedient chat room, and we didn't give it any, because I know Peter Obi will not even dare tell obedience. I don't know where people are getting this news from, if I may say.
I have two questions in response to what we've said, but I'll start with one first. Where do you think that this news must have generated from?
I think some mischievous people, we know them. We know those who would have brought out this news, but the news is not going anywhere. It's dead on arrival.
So are they from the
as at today?
When you say
as at today, ma.
Okay.
As at today, the governor of Borno State is warning all of us that the terrorists are regrouping in the Mandara Hills. We are not going to wait until they bomb Abuja for us to wake up. Let us go to the real issues. Atiku can never be asking for Peter Obi to be vice president, because Atiku himself has said it many times that Peter Obi has all it takes to solve the problems of Nigeria. Why should we be going back?
So, I mean, going back to the question, you had said, you know, these mischievous people. Would you say that these mischievous people are from the People's Democratic Party, or those within the Labour Party who do not agree with the obedient movement?
You know, the Labour Party at this stage, we are not even sure of who we are fighting. We just hope that the Nigerian people stay focused. You have a Peter Obi who is running from Jos Bokos to Makurdi to wherever even where they will not let him go. We have already a president that is in motion. Someone like me, I've always told obedience that we are not going to sit down here until Nigerian people die before we say we're a credible opposition. We need to help the Bola Ahmed Tinubu government realize that they need to sit up and do the things they told Nigerians. And right now, they are not able to do those things. It is our duty to bring to the notice of Nigerians that the insecurity in Nigeria is killing people. We need to allow the government to take their responsibilities while we are waiting to be president in 2027. Whichever way they want it. Nigerians are tired. I'm sure you're tired, but you won't say it because of your profession.
Well, talking about, the seemingly, worrisome conversation around insecurity, which, I mean, since you've touched on it, we might as well go there. But permit me to drag us a bit, behind concerning these statements. I mean, Peter Obi had come out to say that the coalition he's looking for is a coalition that would, solve Nigeria's current situation. And many have wondered why he seems to be running away from a very critical conversation. That conversation is he still going to remain with the Labour Party ahead of the elections? Because it is believed that everyone who has been a staunch follower of Mr. Peter Obi would like to know where he stands. And maybe that's why the PDP have come out with that statement, quote and unquote, whether that's from them directly or not, to say that he's being offered the vice presidential role. So can you touch on this? Do you think it's high time Mr. Obi makes clear to Nigerians and his staunch followers where he stands ahead of 2027, and while he's also continuing to talk against the negative ills in the society?
We might have time to talk about this when they offer him presidency. We can't be discussing vice president. We have a president whom we know has all it takes to be president. One, Atiku is from the north. We have a southern presidency, gentlemen. Are you now saying that we are going to give the presidency back to the north? I don't understand your question. Is that these questions should not even come up. So if Atiku is even dreaming of that, means he's going to be a saboteur, because he's aware of the Nigerian unwritten agreement of North and Southern presidency. So in the moment Atiku is telling Obi to come and be vice, means that President Ahmed Tinubu will continue, because the Southerners will not give the Northerners. And I'm still saying it. We are not even at this point as Nigerians supposed to be deliberating on these permutations. We need to talk about competence and credibility. We need to move the Nigerian state forward. Some of us who have lived abroad, it's funny for someone to be talking about a regional leadership. We should be talking about those that can solve our current problems.
Honorable
Governor Zulum of Borno is the commander-in-chief. Even if he doesn't have the military, I'm sure he has more local knowledge of the insecurity situation in Borno than any other person. And he is telling you as of today that terrorists are ganging up, and we're here talking about Northern and Southern or Atiku president. There is a president there who should do the job of keeping us safe on a daily basis, gentlemen.
Honorable Asomchine, the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, recently said that Mr. Peter Obi cannot solve the crisis in Labour Party. That how do we even trust him to be able to handle issues like security issues like Boko Haram? How do you respond to that? And those that say, you know, his constant criticism of the policies, the marketing Nigeria.
That can we be talking about Akpabio's views? Akpabio has to face Natasha. He has issues. Akpabio said he's ready to do anything the president says. He has told us where he stands. We are the Nigerian people, for crying out. We are obedient. We want our country to be upright in the Committee of Nations. We have a Senate president who is not talking about checking the foreign ministries, foreign embassies, if they've paid salaries. We should leave these guys in the National Assembly. Let us continue to look at how we can get our country right.
What if we focus on the message?
They are enjoying whatever good is there for them. They are not interested in me and you.
Okay, Honorable, what if we zoom in on the message and not the messenger? Let's ignore the messenger for a bit and look at the statements he made. There's a crisis in Labour Party, and he says this person can't even fix the crisis in Labour Party. What's Peter Obi doing to resolve the crisis in the Labour Party, or is it beyond him?
The Labour Party crisis is man-made. We know it's man-made. We are waiting for Peter Obi. Like I said, the obedient movement. We've gone into our local government, our wards. We are building a synergy like we took to the Labour Party. As soon as Peter Obi tells us, go to party SYZ, you will see Nigerians across regional lines. We are not going to allow politicians rule us any longer. We will take the system. We've collected the system and we have it imbibed in the obedient structures. You know Dr. Tanko Inusa. You know the obedient general in the southeast. You know most of us in the north. We are no longer going to allow politicians to do what they did in 2023. We will be ready for them. Let Mr. Peter Obi tell us where we are headed. That's what we are waiting for.
Right. So you're saying that Mr. Peter will be telling you where you're headed might mean, are you inferring that it might mean exiting the Labour Party? And if that's an option, you know, is that one that the obedient movement will be excited about?
We are excited with whatever solution Peter Obi sees is viable. And we trust our principle. Let me tell you people something. I lived in Belgium for 32 years today. I've attended EU meetings. I've seen leaders take decisions. We have very few leaders in Nigeria. And we've seen one in Peter Obi. We are following Peter Obi with our resources. That should tell you how committed we are. Nigerians across tribe, religion, they are craving for a Peter Obi's final direction. The Labour Party, of course, would have been the best option for Peter Obi, but But where we are not sure of Abure and his cohorts, we won't give them any chances. So Peter Obi, we are glad that he is talking to everybody. You saw pictures of him and the president. That's what I have been begging him. I said, we can't be opposition where you are not meeting with the president. I am one of the happiest people, if I can tell you, that Peter Obi was able to shake hands with Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And by tomorrow, we are still going to tell him messages to pass to the president, because he's a sitting president, whether you like it or not. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a sitting president to 2027. The Obedient Network, we want to see a Peter Obi that is engaging the president on crucial issues that concerns all of us.
All right. I mean, you've spoken a lot about the Obedient Network, the Obedient Movement, but may I ask, what stops the Obedient Movement? Although we do hear a bit of rumors, maybe I should rephrase the question. Is it true that the Obedient Movement might be forming their own political party? Looking at the fact that there are too many cracks on the wall in the Labour Party, and this could be a big hindrance to Peter Obi's success in 2027. So, is it true that there's going to be an Obedient Movement party very soon? You want to shed more light on that?
I think I need to find Dr. Tanko Inusa and throw these questions to him. We are the obedience in the fields. We move from Nasarawa to Makurdi to Borno. We are heading to the Mandara Hills. We obedience. You see, the obedience are in the military, they are in the police, they are everywhere. We have identified that the only solution to Nigeria's problem is to electing the right leader, the leader that will be in the crime scene at the point the crime has just taken place. We don't need leaders that will come days later. And Peter Obi has shown all these qualities. We don't need anybody to tell the Obedient Movement what it needs. Peter Obi should tell us, go to party XYZ. You will see what will happen.
Okay, what's the way forward for the Labour Party? There's been lots of internal divides, and whilst we know that this isn't peculiar to the Labour Party, we see that every other political party, the People's Democratic Party, the NNPP, they're all having their own struggles. But as an Obedient, as a core member of the Labour Party, how do you think the Labour Party can forge ahead, from the division that it's currently facing? Are you open to a peaceful resolution with the Abure-led team, the Apapa-led team? Is that something that you see happening in the nearest future?
Let me just delve into this again. There was a convention at NEWI that was not all-inclusive. For months, we've asked for a proper convention that is the norm, that accommodates all interests. That never happened. Now we've gone to the extent of going to the Supreme Court, where the judgment again, it looks like Abure is not understanding that he has to go. I've always told the Obedience that for Abure to be dancing till now, that somebody is beating the drums. And I'm sure that our principal knows exactly how to handle this Labour Party scenario. We are almost at the end of it, because we will have to have a party soon and we'll have to mobilize ourselves. We are waiting for His Excellency Peter Obi to direct the Obedient Movement on where to throw our weights. And the Obedient Movement is a tsunami that is waiting.
So from what we've deduced from our discussions so far, and from the feelers you have on ground, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very likely to happen, do you see your principal, Peter Obi, leaving the Labour Party?
I normally, in my way of doing things, don't speak for Peter Obi.
No, you're not speaking for him, but based on empirical evidence and information and intelligence you have.
I can't speak for Peter Obi.
That's why I gave you a number on a scale of 1 to 10.
Will answer you in the near future. I'm very sure.
You're picking a figure, you're not speaking for him.
I'm sure he will answer you.
No, I just put it on a scale, 1 to 10. Is it likely going to happen or not? You're not speaking for him. You're just mentioning a figure.
Let me be honest. 50-50.
Okay.
What would you want?
That's 5 over 10.
But what would you want?
That's
Would you
5 over
would you want
10.
him to
I'm
leave?
trying to not speak for Peter Obi, and I'm trying to appeal to Mr. Abure to remember that when we are all in the creeks of the north and southern Nigeria, selling the hope, telling Nigerians we are those lights that never shined. If Abure will only look at my face and remember that I never came to his campaign organization to ask him for funding to campaign for Peter Obi, but he saw me in all the campaigns. He should know that there are Nigerians who are hungry for change. And whoever is beating the drums, he should stop dancing and go back to Peter Obi and his group that did the magic. It is possible to do it again. That's what I will say to the Labour Party. For my boss, Peter Obi, we are waiting and we are patiently waiting.
But are you not worried that the same Abure you've mentioned that is dancing to a sound of a drum has also come out to state that he's ready to expose your principle, that he has a lot in hand, and when he unleashes, as it were, the dragon, that maybe you wouldn't see your principle in the same light like you see him? Are you not worried about that?
I beg of him to please expose him today. Peter Obi has a record that nobody can question. We all know that. How can Abure now be sounding this way? We politicians, we know what's going on.
What's going on?
I say to all of you,
What's going on?
You should just tell us the party is going. Let us see if Abure will be relevant.
What do you think is going on? Do you think Abure he's changed, like you said? It seems he's changed. What do you think made him change?
If you ask me, he came as unto me. And as a fearless Nigerian, I can tell you I'm fearless. I'm not afraid of what anybody will say tomorrow. I lived in Brussels, in Belgium for 32 years. I can tell you that I know that Abure is compromised. If he's not compromised, he should go to Peter Obi and resolve the issues, whatever the issues are.
Okay. Also, now let's talk about the Labour Party, which became that party that was very popular amongst young people at the last elections. The Labour Party was that third force that many people didn't see coming. Do you believe that the Labour Party will still have this level of influence come 2027?
We have so much invested in the Papa Mama picking. I recall traveling in Jigawa State where I showed someone from the north. I said, if you look at this picture, what do you see? I asked him in the local, I said, the Papa, the Mama, the Yaro. Means look at the father, look at the mother, and look at the child. I said, this tells you already what Peter Obi has in mind, that he wants to take care of the tree and the family. And he agreed with me. He said, Peter Obi is a name that when they wake up, they hear, they just feel good about it. So it was easy to sell Peter Obi in the north. Abure is a spoiler. That's what I call him. Why don't you exit the Labour Party chairmanship and give it to a fresh guy and take a back seat? Whatever you want to do outside being the chairman of Labour Party, you might get it. Peter Obi and co said, listen, let us have a change of leadership. You are part of us. I'm not even I don't have any position in Labour Party. I don't care. We just want to see a Nigeria that works. And those that are marrying the success of Labour Party know that this is a threat. And I'm not going to come on TV to tutor Abure on what he's doing. We know what's in his cohort, the National Organizing Secretary, the youth leader. They are one gang. What do they want from the Nigerian people? we have spent our money to build Labour Party. It is not only P2B that built Labour Party. I raised the office in Adamawa State for Labour Party. I seated here. I left my job and went and inaugurated that office in Adamawa. It still is standing there. So we all work for the good of Nigeria. I'm not from Yola, but I'm born there. So I see Yola as my home. Nigerians have grown up, outside this religious and tribal brouhaha. I speak Hausa fluently. I was born in Yola. I went to Federal Government College, Sokoto. I went to uni just before I exited the country. And I'm from Anambra State. So we are no longer talking about North, South, and all these divides. We were born after the war. I don't have beer grudges for any Nigerian. I'm in Makurdi today. I'm in Jos tomorrow. We don't have any differences any longer. People like Abure are just, spoilers.
All right. Anyway.
I mean, just before we wrap the conversation up, it feels like we're talking about Abure. Does Apapa come into the conversation at any point?
I mean, he's a fractional chairman of the Labour Party.
That these guys are, let me call them mosquitoes. They won't go. Even if you spray insecticide, they will come from another angle. I am sorry for P2B. This man, sometimes I pity P2B when I watch him. He's demeanor. He's very relaxed. But he knows what role you're playing. We have a man that everybody that is against the good of Nigerians is doing what they can to stop him. But we, the Nigerian people, will say no. We are saying no already, gentlemen. And we have to continue to say no. Both the Nigerians in diaspora and those here, we are united in wanting a president that can go to the world and make us proud. And that's P2B.
All right, Honorable Iken Azomchini, thank you very much for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. Wishing you, the Labour Party, and the obedience all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
The conversation has been
ask
about...
you, what faction of the Labour Party are you wishing the best?
All the factions.
All three. Nnedi Usman, Lamidi Apapa, and Julius Abure faction share the...
If they can come together and become one united force,
yes.
I won't be shocked if the fourth one will come out.
A fourth one.
It's possible.
It's very possible.
Well,
but like Honorable Azomchine said, if somebody needs to bring out the raid, insecticide.
So the matter you spray them, they will come back. They're like mosquitoes. Eh?
Okay.
Well, I don't know. That's
what Honorable Iken Azomchine has said. But we'll move our conversation now from the Labour Party to Rivers State, where more parents in Rivers State have continued to cry out over the disappearance of their children on their way to sit for the 2025 West African Examination Council WAEC exams. A passenger boat conveying some 13 persons, including 6 WAEC candidates, went missing on the 7th of May between the Port Harcourt and Bile Sea route. News Central's Biola Festus tells us more.
The West African Examination Council WAEC has been on for days now, while some homes across Nigeria are gearing up to celebrate their words for successfully completing high school level. Some families in Rivers State are soaring over their missing children who had left home for the exams but are yet to return days after.
The little boy is in that bush, man. I don't know how that boy is eating in that place. I don't know how that boy is sleeping in that place. And they are writing exam. How that boy there tomorrow fish up? That is what they said. Now that boy now, no way. Government, I beg on her. If you have only one child, you know how pain it is. You know how pain it is for somebody to just collect your child. You don't see your child.
This development has put skepticism in the mind of some parents in Rivers State coastal communities over allowing their children to go across the sea in the quest for education.
On the 6th,
Our children that are going for exam have been kidnapped. It's painful. We can't even eat. I can't even sleep. Little children, especially our teenage girls, are there. So imagine the trauma they will be passing through right now. I want the government to help us. I want the Senate President, all the security agency to come to our rescue.
We are under pressure presently now because there is no way for us to go to Bile again, because that is the only route that we have. We have only one route from Bile to Port Harcourt to Bile, and because of the very incidents occurring in several occasions, that because of that we cannot be able to get access to get food to our community.
We've had terrible situations where our husbands have died, our children have died, all in the name of piracy attacks. They should deploy security measures to the waterways. They should release houseboats to certain areas, to central points of the river.
The need to beef up security on the waterways has always been present, but this latest development underscores the urgency of it, now more than ever.
For Mosiend, it goes to vindicate our position over time that establish JAMB and WAEC centers across the riverine communities in the Niger Delta. The Ministry of Education will be doing the Niger Delta people and the riverine people great good if they can consider this as very important for the sake of accessibility to education.
The kidnapping incidences on the Bile-Port Harcourt waterways is gradually becoming a daily occurrence. Natives lament that they are yet to see actions from the government to curb the menace. In Rivers State for News Central, Biola Festus.
What a sad story to take. Yeah. I mean, we took this last week when Biola Festus brought us a similar report. Having parents say that their children were going to write an exam, and all of a sudden you've not heard from your children, I think it's the most heart-wrenching thing. Not only are we failing our children with the quality of education that they're getting, they can't even now get access to the education. They don't even, they're not even guaranteed the safety of their lives when they go to write these exams. And that is such a deplorable state to be in as a people. It's really sad. Rivers State right now is going through a lot. We're talking about this, and we're asking, when they're asking for the government to do something, which government are they asking? The governance structure hasn't been stable in Rivers State for a while now.
Takes responsibility? So who takes responsibility?
Is it the sole administrator?
At the town hall, you mentioned something about Bile community.
Yes.
What issues were raised?
I mean, we had someone who came out to speak. He was speaking about his community, which is Bile community. And I think he was going to highlight the insecurity challenges that they're indeed going through. But unfortunately, he was stopped, and that was due to some of the statements that many other factions felt he shouldn't have made. But back to the situation on ground, it also goes to show, Olive asked a right question, is what we've also talked about. But who is in charge currently as we speak? It's the sole administrator, and the retired vice admiral will be expected to jump on the story immediately, send the security operatives, try as much as possible to possibly get these young lads or these children back to their parents. That lady was crying. She has her only child.
It's very hard.
Her only child,
No parent should ever go through that. But what's the responsibility of government? Even, I'm sure there's still constituted authority in Rivers State. There's a police command that is responsible for the waterways, for Bile community. They need to step up. If it's more personnel, if you have to send a message to police headquarters in Abuja that, look, this situation is overwhelming, we're getting repeated incidents of kidnapping, then they should do something about it. It's really sad that ordinary Nigerians have to go through this cycle of kidnapping and violence over and over again. There are people in charge of this. Nigeria is not a lawless country, so they should step up and really do something about this terrible situation.
We hope so. We hope so that something is quickly done. But let's also tell you in another development that the Corporate Affairs Commission says that it is partnering with the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System to launch a data verification service aimed at improving the ease of doing business in the country. The Registrar General of the Commission, Hussaini Magaji, while briefing journalists in Abuja, says that a newly unveiled interface will enable super agents to retrieve data from the Commission's database at the request of their clients. Magaji adds that the integration will allow banks, embassies, and other institutions to modify or transform the data into specific formats required by their clients. Take a look.
This is an opportunity given to our customers in a more dynamic way. That is because of the advancement and the technology. We're now out giving technology-savvy companies opportunity to have integration with the Corporate Affairs Commission, meaning that all activities that you can do it with the Corporate Affairs Commission, you can equally do it through them. NIBSS, we started with them. This is a paysetter. We started with NIBSS because of their credibility. When you are looking for information like authentication or verification or validation of any record, you can do it through NIBSS at fees. As an opportunity for embassies, opportunity for banks now, no need of manual or semi-manual. They can achieve it through a fully technology-savvy company like NIBSS.
We've been working with the CAC for many years, and we're very, very pleased that today has come. And it's really a culmination of all the efforts we've put together to connect both institutions to allow people to validate and verify data efficiently, securely, and within the remits of the data protection laws.
Great, partnership there. I mean, we've always talked about data sharing. We've always talked about the need for us to consolidate
database.
And
Nigerian fintech space, I mean, they're doing a lot. I hosted an event recently, fintech type of event, and you should see the innovations. And it's always nice to say, look, great things are still happening in our country, and I'm sure you can testify to that. There are good things that are happening in Nigeria. People shouldn't lose hope. But if you watch the news, you would think, oh, it's just bad news that is coming out. People are innovating. We're doing a lot. We've actually leapfrogged, and it's the sort of innovation you see in certain mobile payment systems and the things we can do in our banking system. There are places abroad that they don't have those sorts of real-time solutions and technology. So let's celebrate ours. Someone actually said maybe we can fintech our way out of, because we seem to be very good at that, out of governance issues in Nigeria.
But the only problem is the government controls a chunk.
The regulators.
Yes.
But even the regulators they've stepped up. The level of innovation.
Yes. I mean, we've seen growth, especially from the tech space. There's been tremendous growth from the tech space, regardless of what we've seen from the downside of governance in terms of policy, in terms of rule of law, in terms of governance. We've seen downside from those aspects. But
in spite of,
I think it's much more like when you relate it to the entertainment space. Sometimes I always feel that without the creative sector, I think we would have had a high number of cases, having people who may deep down into depression.
Exactly. And even on employment. Do you know the contributory factor of the services to our GDP now? Is that factor, entertainment and all of this?
So. All right. We, of course, do have many other conversations to look at. Kudos to those in the tech space for the continuous innovation that they're bringing. And we know that we're going to be exploring more even here on the show. But now let's take you through a recap, if you're just tuning in, so you get a sense of the conversations that we've had and sort of preparing you for the conversations that we're having within the next hour. This morning on Breakfast Central, we already have spoken about Peter Obi dispelling the vice presidential ambition and upholding Hunger Poverty Coalition. We headed to Rivers State as well to hear from Biola Festus as she told us about the piracy attacks as families search for their loved ones. CAC NIBSS partner on data verification service. That's what we've discussed so far. Now let's tell you what's coming up next.
Welcome back. The federal government and Borno State have announced a joint effort to revise their anti-terror strategy following a surge in deadly attacks by Boko Haram and ISWAP militants. Governor Babagana Zulum has pledged to strengthen local security forces, enhance intelligence gathering, and equip frontline personnel with the necessary tools to combat the growing threat.
The governor had over the weekend called for statewide fasting and prayers as part of efforts to seek divine intervention against terrorism. But beyond prayers, the real question is, will this revised strategy be enough? The federal government, led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has assured Borno State of its full support in tackling insecurity. What form of reviewed strategies should we see if truly we are to end these attacks in Borno State? Not just the state alone, but its environment and the country at large. Joining us this morning for this discussion is security expert Bala Abdullahi. Good morning and thank you very much. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you so much.
Good morning.
So why would you say that in the most recent time we're seeing some sort of a regaining of strength within these terrorists, Boko Haram, ISWAP, and these are despite years of military operations, despite years of defense getting the highest allocation in Nigeria's budget? Why would we say that, or why does it seem that there's some sort of a resurgence and a strengthening of terrorist activities?
Well, actually, from the word go, there has been an issue. The first problem that the federal government, or the Borno in particular, faced was the issue of rehabilitating the Boko Haram repentance. One of the key parts is that you don't rehabilitate an individual person just like that and leave him like that without even looking at the possibility, the future certainty of Borno people. The issue of rehabilitation is very important, but how do you do that? They have rehabilitated those individuals, reintegrated them into the normal society without checkmating their whereabouts, without following due process to find out their radar, so that should there be any issue, they can be held responsible. This has been the issue. And believe you me, the defense policy, the Nigerian defense policy, need to be reviewed, not only in Borno, but in the whole country, so that it will also give other platform to come in and see how best they can address the issue or to mitigate. But one thing that is also very clear is that the seriousness from the side of the government, from the side of Borno people, from the side of community. There should have been a case whereby Borno government, community from Borno, and the federal government, if they have this collaborative effort, things wouldn't have been the way they are. Because some of these bandits, some of these Boko Haram are integrated into the normal society. The community in Borno that has been devastated to some certain extent have not accepted this repentant Boko Haram. There are also some machineries that are also part of the Boko Haram, but are outside the country in the neighboring Chad, Cameroon, and some states in the northeast, including northwest. The federal government, the security apparatus are not working in tandem to address the real problem in Borno. It's mostly journalistic purview, to the extent that people are seeing Borno is now okay, Borno is now okay. So let there be reintegration of the community, which is also a problem to the community, to the Borno community itself. But if there is going to be a lasting solution, which is going to be very difficult, there should be a concrete effort. I mean, concrete, solid, unpoliticized effort by both parties, from the government side, the federal government side, from the military side. If I say federal government, I mean the military side. From the Borno people, and from the state government in Borno, so that it will be like a triangulation in such that a peace will be restored in Borno. But the way the federal government is taking it is not actually is not addressing the whole matter right from the word, because I think either this fora or similar forums we talked about that this is not how to handle this issue. The issue of repentant Boko Haram should be treated separate without politics. The issue of unrepentant Boko Haram should also be treated and addressed separate. The issue of community engagement, civil-military relations should also be addressed separate, so that you don't merge the whole part of issue together.
Okay, Mr. Abdullahi, you've raised very important issues. One of the fault lines that you've pointed at is the way the repentant Boko Haram were reintegrated into society, and that's why we've seen a recent uptick in violence in Borno State. Now, beyond that, what would you say is the current state of things in Borno State? How many local, how vast are the ungoverned spaces we have in Borno State, and are there local governments that are under Boko Haram or non-state actors' control as we speak?
Well, it's very difficult to say that for now, because even those areas controlled by the Boko Haram are also part of the areas that the Nigerian military are also in. So the issue of having a total control of an area is still debated, because there are certain strategy, certain modalities that need to be looked into before one can jump into conclusion. But the point that one is trying to portray is that Boko Haram has resurfaced in Borno. So what do we do to address that? The federal government should not politicize it. The state government should also not politicize it. Then, because the problem, like I said earlier, the problem started when the federal government decided now to reintegrate the so-called repentant Boko Haram. There was no issue of repentant Boko Haram at the initial stage. It's just politics. So the earlier they separate politics, repentant, rehabilitation, reintegration, separate, the better for Borno peaceful coexistence.
All right, you've talked about politics and it being politicized. Can you share with us how, or the process you think this fight against ISWAP and Boko Haram is being politicized, especially now that the Borno State governor has come out to call on the federal government to join forces and ensure that they can indeed take them out completely? How is it politicized?
That could be an administrative statement that the federal government and state government should come back together. That has been an administrative statement. But the point one is trying to portray is that right from the word go, this issue of politics, the federal government, from their parts, they don't want to neutralize Boko Haram. The Borno governor and Borno community wanted it to be so that the level of that there will be a little bit peaceful in Borno. So the more you begin to say you want this issue of amnesty into Boko Haram, remember you have certain communities, certain category of people, that these people, their land, their community, their properties have been baptized by the Boko Haram. Now you have this Boko Haram to be reintegrated into the community without even taking into cognizance the community feelings, the community tension, the community acceptance. You just went ahead to say you have now repented Boko Haram, and you want ahead to also reintegrate them into the community without even the community accepting them. Because the community, the federal government should also cap community on one side, that this is it. If there is any package ranging from mitigating efforts of them being those properties and what have you have been lost, there should be some level of concern from the federal government on that side. Then, if the community decided to say yes, we have accepted that, there is nothing. But come to think of it, that community have been bastardized for long, and nothing is done. And one side, you have also the Boko Haram. Some of them are not even ready. Let me tell you that some of the Boko Haram, some of the so-called repentant, are integrated into the community without them having the feelings of repentance. And on the other side, you have also the Boko Haram, the real Boko Haram in the bush. And the other side, you have the interest of the international community on the other side. And on the part of the security agencies, there are some of them that they don't want this crisis to end. So which is which? So that is the politics I'm talking about. If there is going to be a commitment from the side of the federal government, if I say commitment, I mean wholehearted commitment from the side of the government. There is also going to be some effort from the community themselves that yes, but what the federal government did was not intended with the community will and wishes. And that is why the Boko Haram, even from the part of the community, those properties, their properties have been lost. Why not join the Boko Haram? Because they are now giving some royal treatment, neglecting those communities that their properties, their lives, their loved ones have been lost. This is the type of politics I'm talking about. The federal government should make it that way, that, okay, they are fighting an enemy, both known and non, both non-actors, non-conventional. From the international communities, how do you address that? From within the community, how do you go about that? From the security agencies, how do you deal with that? So it involves concerted effort without politics that the federal government should fish out. They know there are officers, non-nonsense officers that can do this job. We have interviewed some of the soldiers in the fields that this was what was happening. So it is the responsibility now of the federal government, if they really meant serious, to do two things: to fish out their officers, their bad officers, and also to see how best they can address this international community syndrome, so that people of Borno can have a relatively peaceful communities within the times possible. Okay, still in the fight against insecurity, one of the recent updates we are hearing is that these terrorists have started to use drones. So we do have tech-savvy terrorists. Would you say that Nigeria's security intelligence architecture is also evolving to be able to combat this evolving that we're seeing within the bandits and the terrorists? Let me tell you one thing. The Nigerian military that I know very well, believe you me, if you can give them all it takes, just give them time, they will dismiss all these issues within the time possible. But the problem is that junk of money, billions of naira, have been chunked into this project without auditing, without knowing whereabouts of this money. Tokumbos, fighter jets, every year, every budgetary allocation. Let me tell you, and let me give you a shocking story, that Nigeria is budgeting per day, is budgeting more than 1 billion naira on security where are the money going? Check the account of those generals fighting Boko Haram. Check the account of those rank and files fighting Boko Haram. Check their allowances. Check those materials, weapons given to them are substandard. But every year, every day, you find a different story that money has been earmarked for this, money has been this, money has been that. If the federal government is really serious about fighting Boko Haram, believe you me, they know best, they know what to do. But the Nigerian military that I know, if you give them all it takes, their allowances, you give them equipment, believe me, don't give them time. They are known fighting insurgency outside Nigeria. And this, we are talking about Nigeria, one state just alone. That is the question one should be asking. That money is going in without results. What happened? People need to see result-oriented soldiers, result-oriented military. If the federal government wanted it, believe you me, there are people, there are, complete entrepreneurs among politicians, among military generals that are interested in this money going into the military corps. So if they need it, they know how to checkmate these resources. And the Nigerian military also know the committed soldiers, patriotic officers that can fight this Boko Haram. They can take them and deploy them to Maiduguri and see results. Give them all it takes and allow them to do their job without interference. Believe me, they will decimate them. But this is also a kind of, to us, we are thinking that as a student of security, we are thinking that it's all planned towards addressing certain level of individuals' interests. That is just it. But believe you me, the soldiers that I know in Nigeria, they can fight this to the last. But you can think of soldiers killed, their allowances, their gratuity have not been given to the families, and you think other soldiers that are alive in the battlefield to work diligently, their monthly, their weekly, their daily allowances have not been given, and you think they can work diligently to address this. The rifles they are holding are even outdated, substandard, non-sophisticated. Even the soldiers, how could non-conventional groups, armed groups, will have sophisticated weapons more than the conventional soldiers? In Nigeria, millions of naira are going into budgetary allocation every year for those group, a particular group. No, something is wrong somewhere. So if the government are serious enough, believe me, within times possible, they will dismiss them.
Thank you so much. A security expert, one who has been covering security information and, of course, the issues there in the north and, of course, across Nigeria. Thank you so much, Mr. Bala Abdullahi, for speaking with us.
Thank you very much.
Great. Great conversation there, having looked at the recent situation in Borno State, where the governor has called on the federal government and the federal government has responded. Let's move now to another one. The House of Representatives has commenced deliberations on 11 key agricultural bills with a focus on reviving Nigeria's food systems, strengthening agricultural education, establishing new research institutions, and boosting food security. During a public hearing in Abuja, lawmakers and stakeholders called for a shift of national attention back to agriculture, making it a cornerstone of national development. Our correspondent, Idong Joseph, tells us more in this report.
West, Northeast, A push for agricultural revival was the central theme at the public hearing and presentation of memoranda by stakeholders, as 11 proposed legislations aimed at expanding Nigeria's agricultural education and research framework came under scrutiny.
Each of the proposed bills encapsulates a forward-looking vision of agriculture as a strategic force, no longer tethered to archaic system but poised for transformation through innovation and inclusive economic participation.
While the effects of the neglect of the agricultural sector due to dependence on crude oil for decades still weigh heavily on Nigeria's food production capacity, lawmakers expressed confidence that the passage of these bills into law will breathe new life into the sector.
The nation needs more agricultural colleges and research institutions. We are positive that establishing more agricultural colleges and institutions will drive specialization and dedication to agricultural excellence. There are a lot of tangible benefits in establishing more agricultural colleges.
Stakeholders, including the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria and representatives from various state governments, commended the efforts to expand existing agricultural colleges and research institutions, while recommending certain revisions to the proposed bills.
ARCS support this bill with some major changes. The proposed institution needs to be proposed to be either a research institute or a college. Projects, that's the Federal College of Agriculture will fit into existing government programs.
As deliberations continue, stakeholders are optimistic that these legislative efforts will lay a new foundation for a more secure food and economically resilient Nigeria. The outcome of this session is expected to be presented to the Parliament for consideration and possible third reading passage. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
Very interesting reports there from Idong Joseph, looking at going back to agriculture. Many Nigerians have called for that. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, there seems to be crisis brewing in Nigeria's educational sector. Once again, this time from SSANU, NASU, not forgetting to ASUU. We'll talk about all of that after the break.
The Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SSANU, and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions, NASU, have rejected the federal government's formula for distributing 50 billion naira in intervention funds for university staff unions. The unions are calling the allocation grossly unfair, provocative, and unacceptable, warning that it could trigger industrial unrest across the campuses.
The federal government approved 50 billion naira to settle outstanding allowances for university workers. However, 80% of the funds were allocated to the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, leaving only 20% to be shared among SSANU, NASU, and the National Association of Academic Technologists, NAAT. SSANU and NASU argue that this lopsided distribution undermines the critical role of non-teaching staff in Nigerian universities. They insist that administrators, researchers, and technical personnel are not second-class citizens and deserve equitable treatment. The unions have issued a strong warning to the federal government to review the formula or risk widespread dissatisfaction and industrial disharmony. Now, looking and helping us to break this down on the drawing board, we have Joe, who's going to be running us through. Over to you, Joe.
Yeah, it's a good topic to carry on, guys, and a good topic to look into because, SSANU, NASU, they made a very strong statement, and the statement simply is that the federal government needs to look into the sharing formula. Now, first of all, we need to understand that both SSANU, NASU, and NAT, which happens to be the National Association for Academic, you could say, technologists, they all are trade union bodies for non-academic staff. So they represent, they speak for them. However, you have ASUU, of course, the association that we know so well. And the government said in sharing of that major fund, which is 50 billion naira, it's saying it's going to give 20% to SSANU, NASU, NAT. It's going to be shared. 20% will be shared between these three bodies. That's what it says. While 80% will go to ASUU. But there seems to be a problem here. If we break down 50 billion naira now, what it simply means is SSANU, NASU, and NAT will be getting 10 billion naira. Okay, while ASUU will be getting 40 billion naira.
So I think the question now is the fairness with which this is done.
Exactly.
What was the intention behind the government deciding that
how did they arrive at this sharing formula?
So that's where the conversation starts. That's why these three bodies that represent that much more like the trade, let's just call it the trade union for Nigeria's educational system, are saying that this is an unfair and imbalanced share.
So what are they asking?
The federal government should review the formula. That's what they're saying, and that's the entire conversation. Just review the formula. That's what they're saying. If you're going to give ASUU 40 billion naira and give us just 10 billion naira, you might as well remember that this 10 billion naira will be shared within three bodies. And if you share that within three bodies, then that's where the conversation lies. But I think our guest is equally here.
Overall scheme of things, SSANU, NASU, NAT, and ASUU work hand in hand for the daily operations of Nigerian universities. So they all deserve their own fair share.
I mean, I kind of like, I feel their pain, and I think three bodies sharing this amount, and then, ASUU as well. But then again, we do have our guest who joins us. I think is going to take us through this conversation too, as we have it all together. We do have SSANU President Mohammed Ibrahim. Mr. Mohammed Ibrahim, thanks for joining us. Let's quickly see how we can run through this conversation in the few minutes that we have left. What do you make of this sharing formula? Does it work for you? And does this also capture what you are fighting for?
Thanks for this opportunity to let Nigerians understand the kind of injustice that is being meted on the non-teaching staff working in our public universities. I'm very happy with the analysis, and that also goes to show that you guys have a grasp of what happens in the university as a citadel of learning. The university is a system where no one group can claim monopoly over the other in terms of productivity, in terms of performance, in terms of impact on the most important stakeholders who are the students. Remember that without the students, the university will not even be there. Now, with the students there, you have the teaching category of staff who impart knowledge, who take the students through what takes them there. However, the life of these students, their welfare and their well-being, their security, and the administrative lifeware of such institutions solely relies in the hands or lays in the hand of the non-teaching staff. Talk about taking them through experiments, through practicals in the labs and so on, is also performed by this arm of the staff. Now, what injustice would you say that is more than this? You're talking about an amount of money that is meant to, pay staff their allowances as captured in our agreements with government. Mind you, SSANU, NASU, and even NAD is not claiming to get this money because it's a jamboree, but it is money that has been agreed with government that they are going to pay, and it's captured in our own agreement signed with the federal government in 2009. So nobody should look at this as an opportunity that these other three unions are, exploiting to get, an Odoji award, or if you like any other name you want to call it. So we reject this formula of sharing, because this is not also the first time, mind you. This is about the fifth tranche that will come. 4 other tranches have been given, and 3 out of the 4, has been 80-20, and we have protested, and we've been called upon to be patient. It was only in one case that we got 25 and 75. And if you put the total number of workers in the universities, the 3 other unions, multiplies, doubles the number of the teaching staff. So, we go to the same market, we work in the same environment, we face the same challenges. So, and that we have, as a union, always said that this idea of government sitting in Abuja and allocating, percentages in terms of payment of this money is totally wrong and is not fair. Government should be able to give this money to universities where we have the council and the management. Every member of staff has his or her appointment letter with schedule of duty. So if the money is given to universities, those universities will be able to, share or pay these amounts based on the work schedule of every member of staff. Not really, looking at, this is ASUU, this is SSANU, or this is NASU. Give the money, work out the percentages in terms of the personnel cost of the university. Every university, gets money from the federal government through its personnel cost, and they pay salary. So give this money to the university management through the council, and such monies will be paid without any hula baloo. But when you sit in Abuja and say that, okay, we are giving this set of staff this as percentage of money, while you are giving this other large chunk of members, this chicken feed, it doesn't make sense. And we shouldn't be seen, as second-class citizens, because no university can operate without the non-teaching staff, because we are the one that admits the students, we admit them, we take care of them in the university health centers, we do the students' welfare through the Students' Affairs Department. We also do so many other things, in the university. All of us have been to the university, and you know what it means. And at the end of the day, at the end of the sojourn, the chancellor pronounces that your degree is being awarded to you because you've been found worthy in both character and learning. Who are the ones that mold the character of the students? It is the non-teaching staff. Because if you don't treat them well in the hostels, if you don't treat them well within the university campuses, no matter how much knowledge you impart on them, they will continuously, remain people who will not fit into the community, into the society. So our job is not that which should be taken with levity, or something that should be seen as that is not important.
Now, quickly, before we wrap up, Mr. Ibrahim, have you channeled your grievances to the appropriate authority, and if you have, what response have they given?
This is a recurring decimal, as I said. This thing started in 2013. We're in 2025. It has happened like 3-4 times now. And we have always protested. And even this time around, that's why we've been proactive. The monies have not been shared yet. And when we got wind of this very scandalous formula that is about to be deployed, that's why we protested. So our voices have been heard. We are waiting and hoping that since this is a democratic government and since the president means well to the country by giving the approval to make these monies available for workers in the universities, we expect that the Honorable Minister of Education, through the instrumentality of his office and the National Universities Commission, will rescind this decision and do the needful by making sure that 80-20 does not stand.
All right. I want to say thank you so much, Mr. Ibrahim, for joining us and also letting us know what the situation truly is. Hopefully, we'll get to have you back when we have more time for this discussion. But for this time, I want to say thank you for shedding light on what's being done.
Thank you so much.
All right. Anyway, we'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look at what's making the news at the top of the hour for 9. But then again, that's the update on SSANU, NASU, NANT and ASUU. And the federal government calls are being made that they should review the sharing formula. This is Breakfast Central. Stay with us.
Welcome. This is Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Aborowa. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has arrested 120 suspects in Lagos over alleged internet fraud. A statement by Dele Oyewale, EFCC spokesperson, says more than 100 suspects were arrested on Monday across Lagos State. Oyewale says the anti-graft agency recovered 26 exotic cars and expensive jewelry, smartphones, laptops, and incriminating documents. The EFCC spokesperson says the suspects will be arraigned in court after the investigation. A senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, has criticized the proposed bill on compulsory voting, describing it as unconstitutional. The bill, sponsored by the House Speaker Tajuddin Abbas, proposes a 6-month jail term, a 100,000 naira fine for eligible voters who fail to participate in elections. Falana argues that the bill violates citizens' right to privacy, freedom of thought, and voluntary participation in elections. Falana wants the House to withdraw the bill and recommends electoral reforms, like amending the Electoral Act to include proposals from the Ways Electoral Reform Panel. Let's run you through the world's democracies where voting by eligible voters is compulsory and carries sanctions, fines, or punishments, as you may like to put it. There are 22 of them. 2 of them are African nations, namely the Democratic Republic of Congo and Egypt. 7 of them are in Latin America, 5 in North America, 3 of them in Europe, 2 in Oceania, and 3 of them in Asia. We now move to educational matters. The Southeast Caucus in the House of Representatives has demanded the resignation of Professor Ishaq Oloyede, the Registrar of the Joint Admissions Matriculation Board, JAMB. The lawmakers also called for the cancellation of the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination. The caucus said a new UTME for 2025 should be conducted between July and August. The caucus, led by Igariwe Enwo, said the board's response has been grossly inadequate, citing poor communication, scheduling conflicts with the ongoing WAEC examination, and the short notice given for the receipt. They argued that this situation has caused unnecessary trauma for students and families. Family of late Bamishe Ayonwola, the 22-year-old fashion designer who was sexually molested and murdered in a BRT bus in 2022, has called on the government for further investigations into her death, while the BRT driver, Andrew Nice, accused of killing her, has been sentenced to death. A family of the deceased wants the government to conduct a private investigation into other accomplices to Bamishe's murder. They also want Bamishe's belongings returned, as well as consideration for compensation to the family.
If the family are saying, we want justice, and you're not giving us justice, then give us fiat. Give us the power to investigate. Give us 6 months maximum. Others at large will be apprehended. We have the phone number of the killer driver. Give us fiat, whatever will come to you for. Please grant us.
So what we are saying is that judgment was given, but justice has not been fully served. Because those culprits too, let them be identified, named, and brought to justice. Now that judgment has been given, why can't the phone be returned to the family? It is our property. She bought it with her money. So why is anybody other the place, or why are they still keeping it? If they are still keeping it, they want to give us the impression that further investigation is still on to unravel the mystery and to know those 3 other people who are there inside the vehicle.
Plumes of smoke were seen rising from northern Gaza on Tuesday, visible from southern Israel, as Israeli forces intensified their military campaign across the besieged territory. The offensive aimed at dismantling Hamas has led to a sharp escalation in violence and destruction. According to Gaza's civil defense agency, Israeli airstrikes resulted in the deaths of at least 44 people across the region. The attacks targeted various parts of the enclave, worsening the already dire humanitarian situation and triggered renewed fears amongst civilians. The latest wave of violence adds to the mounting toll in the ongoing conflict, with critical infrastructure damage and residential areas heavily affected. Efforts to reach a ceasefire remain stalled amidst growing international concerns over civilian casualties. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Abora. Breakfast Central continues shortly.
Welcome to Breakfast Central. If you're just tuning in, we've had so many conversations this morning, but hopefully we'll be able to touch on a number of the stories if the front pages of the newspaper reflect them. And joining us to review the front pages is the publisher of the niche newspaper, Atiku Abubakar. Thank you for joining us.
Always my pleasure, Olive.
Thank you very much.
You are decked in glowing colors this morning.
Because my enemies wanted to steal my joy, but Mercy said no. That's why I'm decked in glowing colors.
Well, well said.
Very well said, right?
Very well said.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Mr. Ikechukwu. Great to have you.
Always my pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay.
We're waiting for our own compliment, you and I. Let's have gender balance.
Don't worry, I will do that next week.
Next week, exactly. So now let's punch you with the Punch newspaper, even though we say no to violence. Did you say what I say? Don't leave me. Tinubu's 2027 bid, APC calls opposition governors with high-stakes offers. Governors offered ministerial appointments, return tickets to nominate successors, National Assembly members, and others. I'm so sorry, this is such a very interesting headline. Once suspected Lagos fraudsters to face trial, Ibadan, Ogbomoso monarchs reject Alafin as permanent council chair. Nigerian teenager's corpse recovered from Island River. This is sad. Oyebanji's second term endorsement divides Ekiti APC. Marketers import 436 billion naira petrol amid row with Dangote. Global health at risk as funding crisis hits WHO. OPS presses for rate cut as MPC convenes today. UTME received JAMB to release results of 379,000 candidates today. Maybe we should start with that one. JAMB is releasing results today. What are your expectations? Another, do you trust the results, regardless of what it will be? Now, do you think that also Nigerians will be willing to trust the results if we do see a high level of, hopefully, we don't see another level of failure?
Or glitches?
I'm not too sure that many people will trust the result, no matter how it comes out. In the first place, of course, don't forget that the Southeast Caucus in the House of Representatives gave a statement yesterday where they demanded, the first place, they called what happened in the last exam as gross institutional failure. And they also demanded for the resignation of
Professor Ishaq Oloyede.
Professor Ishaq Oloyede. But there has been so many reactions since yesterday. Some applauding, some beginning to impute ethnic motives, as we are want to do into all this. But look, if we also look at what happened in the receipt that was done, I think that was a Friday, Saturday, these students, already traumatized students, many of them sitting for NACO and WAEC this time, we are given only 48 hours to do the receipt. Many of them did not even get the notices. And it was even more chaotic than what that led to all this crisis we have on our hands now. The Southeast Caucus in the House of Representatives and so many other people have called for a general cancellation of the entire exam and to give the students time to prepare, perhaps after the NACO and WAEC exams. Of course, that is going to affect the entry into Nigerian universities. But what is worth doing is worth doing well. The glitches were still reported. Some students who sat for the exam on Friday, Saturday also complained of being locked out, the computers freezing, and all that. So I'm not sure that the result that will be released tomorrow, as announced by JAMB, is in any way going to assuage feelings that are very, very raw now. What rescheduling the exam in 48 hours, if you ask me, is a knee-jerk reaction to what ought to be a fundamental sit-down to look at what the issues are.
Well thought out process. Yeah.
You know, we discussed this last week, and I did say, look, we need to understand what the issues are, and then know the remedial steps to take to ensure that it does not happen again going forward. I don't see how that could have been fixed in just 48 hours for us to be sure that what the exams that were sat for on Friday, Saturday were foolproof or fail-proof of the same circumstances that led to the uproar in the first place. So I am not hopeful that the result that will be released on Wednesday is in any way going to douse the tension that is there already, because going by what transpired while the students went for the receipt on Friday, Saturday, the glitches still reoccurred. They have not been taken care of.
Very valid point you've really raised, and so many questions that are begging for answers. But we'll wait and see the results. And I hope they won't just pass them, give them a mass pass, because they don't want people to complain.
That's another thing.
Another
That's another thing again.
But let's look at the headline story. I mean, this looks like something out of Martin Scorsese movie or one of those Peaky Blinders where you have deal making and a mafia-like state
approach.
APC courts opposition governments with high-stake offers. Let's look at those high-stake offers.
Ministerial appointments?
Ministerial appointments, return tickets, and they will also get to nominate their successors. Are they the returning officers of INEC? Have the electorates voted already? And they're also talking about looking at NAS members and others. Where are the people? Since they said democracy is a government for the people, and by the people. Where are the people in this equation now?
Is this the reason why people are, teleport? Let me use the word teleport.
Even at the risk,
or they're non-factor.
Even at the risk of, to borrow a cliche, sounding like a broken gramophone, as we say, we don't have a democracy. If democracy, going by the classical definition, is government of the people, by the people, for the people, we don't have a democracy. What we have is a civil rule, which more or less has turned into full-blown civilian dictatorship. It doesn't need to be a military government to be a dictatorship. What this story has confirmed, and I'm not too sure there's any discerning Nigerian or anybody who knows what is going on that will be surprised. In fact, what the story didn't add, the story could have added that part of the deal-making process is that if you defect to APC, then your sins are forgiven. If you have a file with EFCC, it will be hidden.
Or thrown out.
Or destroyed, until such a time you also fall out of favor with those who are in position now. So the issue of now promising you that you're going to select your successor, or you're going to be given the right to determine who goes into the National Assembly if you are a governor, those things are, they are given. And those who are going to PDP members or even Labour Party members who are defecting to APC cannot say in good conscience that they are doing it for public good. No. No matter how hard they try to paint it, pretend. Okowa cannot tell me that he defected to APC or Governor Sharif cannot tell me that the reason for the defection is because of their love for the people of Delta State or because of common good. No, it is selfish political interests. And what are those selfish political interests? It aligns with what Punch has done. All I'm saying is that Punch did not go the whole hog of adding other things, incentives that might tempt people into moving to APC. Nigerian politicians are not cut out for opposition politics, because for them, the politics is a meal ticket. That is where they earn their living from. Most of them don't have a second address. Even those that had second addresses before they went into government, sooner than later, abandon whatever it is. Ifeanyi Okowa, don't forget,
he's a medical doctor.
He's a trained medical doctor who read at, I think, in the University of Ibadan. Someone like Bukola Saraki, don't forget, he's a medical doctor. So, there are so many of them who are lawyers before they went into government. In other climes, what happens is that when you finish serving, assuming that government is going into positions of authority equates to service. If you finish in a serving, you go back to what we are doing.
Politics is not a profession.
It's as simple as that. But because there is no second address, you must continue, so that when you finish as a governor, you are negotiating to go to the Senate. When you finish as a senator, you are negotiating to be a minister. So for you, being in positions, being in the corridors of power becomes a lifelong career that without it, you are literally like a fish out of water. So what Punch did is true. There are things that have been told them, this is what you're going to get. It's a quid pro quo, as we say it, so that if you cross over, this is what you are going to get. But I think most importantly is that you are things like Senator Adams Oshomole said when he was chairman of APC, if you come to APC, your sins will be forgiven.
They'll use deodorant for your sins.
Most of them who are now in APC, and nobody is talking again about them, had files as fact as this in the EFCC. Since they crossed over, nobody ever mentions it again. And that is why they are being blackmailed. There's nothing the government does, or there's nothing the president does that they won't support, particularly those of them in the Senate and the House of Representatives, because their dossiers are there, and all anybody has to do, and that's the basic function of those in a certain office, is to call you and say, are you aware of this? And you come out of that place smiling and saying that this is the best government that has ever been.
Some people will say, I mean,
Nigeria.
if you ask APC supporters, they will say you're making a mountain out of a molehill. And this is politics. That politics is about the art of deal making. I'm sharper than you. That's why we're doing all these things. Has any laws been broken?
They are being clever by half. Even if we go by whether any law is broken, it is unlawful, at least at the level of lawmakers, for you to defect from the party that brought you into office without resigning. It is unlawful. But of course, the Supreme Court and others, now the courts, they have done it in such a way that how are you going to enforce the law? Yes, there is no such restriction when it comes to governors. But even at that, at the moral level, I have said here before, look, you vote, I vote, and all of us here vote. When you are handed the ballot paper, there is no name.
It's the party.
What is there is political party. And most people who win elections, it's like those who won elections on the platform of the Labour Party. Many of them did not even have money to buy coke for people now to call meetings. They won those elections on two grounds. Because they ran on the platform of the Labour Party, and because the Labour Party had the good fortune of having P2B as the presidential candidate. So those guys owe their mandate to the Labour Party. So for you to wake up one morning and say, look, I am no longer a member of the Labour Party, I have transferred this mandate that was given to Labour Party, I've transferred it to APC. It is immoral, it is unlawful. So they have broken the law. Even on the face value, at least the lawmakers, they have broken the law. It is not politics. What is going on is immoral. It is not politics. And politics, look, when we say that now politics is not a clean game, it's a dirty game. Politics is contest for power is a serious business. Everybody must agree that. It's a serious business. And if you can't stand the heat, you get out of the kitchen. But even in this being serious, is the ability to convince the people. Any mandate that does not come from the people. And that is why this law they are trying to make.
Compulsory voting?
Compulsory voting. How? They should go and expand the prisons. Because many Nigerians would rather go to prison
than to
go and vote in 2027 unless we are sure that the votes of the people will count. Not only Olisabakova, Ikechukwu Mechi will not go near any polling booth in 2027 unless and until I am sure that my vote
will count.
Otherwise, why should I go there? Because, sorry, Olive, you are going there will only legitimize, and that is what they want to do. Because they're going to rig the election, but they'll be able to point back and say, 40 million Nigerians, 50 million Nigerians voted, when they know that it is not the votes that determined who got what. They're only trying to use it to legitimize the fraud, the one to commit. So I won't, even if they are going to jail me for 5 years, I'd rather spend the time in jail knowing that my not going to vote is a protest against the nonsense that has been going on.
All right, let's hear from Austin. Austin is calling from Asaba. Good morning, Austin. Please go ahead with your comment. All right, unfortunately, I was wondering if it was Austin Azu. Let's quickly head down to the Nigerian Tribune, the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. Many stories. Edun Bagudu Tijani rekindle hope on Nigeria's economy. Shadow government, DSS acted within bounds, legal expert says. I'm sure that's a story that I'd like for us to take. Ibadan Airport to begin international flights early next year, according to Oyo government. Wow. So, depending, if Lagos Airport is not really giving me a nice vibe, I can just go and fly from Ibadan, go to IITA, do a weekend there, and from there
and there's an agro airport, international agro airport in Ogun State. You can import or export your food, your produces.
You see,
yes, to avoid post-harvest loss.
Wow, that's amazing. We're making progress. Obi clarifies stance on 2027 coalition, says he remains in Labour Party. National Constitution Summit. The Patriots Southwest delegates meet in Lagos on Thursday. Labour Party factions clash again. Oti Nenadi Usman-led NCC 6 court order stopping Abure from parading himself as chairman. Local government financial autonomy 1 year after Supreme Court judgment yet to be implemented. Konwa Tuvisi released 50 billion naira and allowance not for ASUU members alone. Let's start with shadow government. Patutomi has is setting up this shadow government to hold the government accountable. The DSS says, it's not legal and that they're going to, they've of course taken him to court and, this might end up leading to an arrest. Patutomi has said that at the end of the day, he's ready to do whatever it takes. If they like, they should come and arrest him. This is a situation where he's ready to die for, right? But let's get your thoughts on the legality or otherwise, or the importance or otherwise of the shadow government. Yesterday we had Dennis Amakri, who is retired director at the DSS, and he was saying that he thinks that what the DSS is doing is important, that what Patutomi is doing is unconstitutional because he's setting up another government, whereas what we run is a presidential and another parliament.
Government.
We have a presidential system of government and not a parliamentary system of government. But Patutomi is of the view that these people do not have executive powers. They're just there to serve as opposition, checkmates, to hold the government of the day, to account and to mirror what the government of the day can do differently. But let's get your thoughts on that.
Well, like you said, the matter is still is already in court. So I don't want to sound sub judice, but personally, I don't see what crime has been committed. Patutomi issued a statement clarifying. I don't know what the quarrel is all about, whether the quarrel is in the nomenclature, in the shadow government. And shadow government, what in real terms does it mean? They don't have any powers to do anything. What are they going to do? Is it that they will roll out their own budget?
Or sway ministers?
Is it that the ministers are going to be sworn in to do what? He is saying, and I think it is in line with what opposition ought to do, holding the government accountable. Now, many people have said that part of their disagreement with the so-called opposition as constituted now by PDP and Labour Party and all that, is that they have not provided an alternative vision of what they will do, different from what the government is doing now, if they are elected. Now, Patutomi and his group are saying that we are going to constitute a shadow government, in quote, and their responsibility is to act as a check and opposition on the government of the day and say, okay, if you wake up today and say you have solved all the security issues in the country by doing so, and so, some people could say, no, you've not, because you've not done so, and so, and that if you do it this way, it will be better. So there is nothing in my own reckoning, in my own understanding of what this step is all about, is there's nothing there that delegitimizes the government of the day. And there is nothing there that says that these people are going to constitute a parallel government. It's not a parallel government. If you ask me, I think it is a DSS that is just making a
mountain out of a molehill?
Mountain out of a molehill. This government must be held to account by all means possible,
if they
as long as it is legal.
The nomenclature and not use shadow government or any government in it, would it make a huge difference?
Of course, this is an opposition government. The only thing is that part of Tommy used the word, like I said, the nomenclature, shadow government. People ought to hold the government to account. What we do here most times is to say, to provide alternative view, because all of us are working for the good of the country. It is, look, whether it is not about not liking Bola Ahmed Tinubu, or let me use even an extreme word, hating him. Nobody hates him. All we want is a government, is a country that works for all.
You just reminded me now of what His Excellency Peter Obi said, which will come to shortly. But let's take a call from Chude, calling from Enugu. Good morning, Chude. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Olive. Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Winker. And good morning, Mr.
Morning, Judy.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Ikechi for his representation on the mandatory voting issue. The thing is that they know that given what happened in 2023, sorry I'm taking you guys back because I know you moved on from this point. They know that people aren't going to troop out en masse again in 2027 to cast their votes given what happened in 2023. And for them to legitimize the rascality that is going to happen, because obviously from everything that's happening, I think we're heading towards there. For them to legitimize the rascality, the only thing now for them to do is to do the mandatory voting thing.
Grounds, because they ran on the platform of the Labour Party, and because the Labour Party had the good fortune of having Peter Obi as the presidential candidate. So those guys owe their mandate to the Labour Party. So for you to wake up one morning and say, look, I am no longer a member of the Labour Party, I have transferred this mandate that was given to Labour Party, I've transferred it to APC. It is immoral, it is unlawful. So they have broken the law. Even on the face value, at least the lawmakers, they have broken the law. It is not politics. What is going on is immoral. It is not politics. And politics, look, when we say that now politics is not a clean game, it's a dirty game. Politics is contest for power is a serious business. Everybody must agree that. It's a serious business. And if you can't stand the heat, you get out of the kitchen. But even in this being serious, is your ability to convince the people. Any mandate that does not come from the people. And that is why this law they are trying to make.
Compulsory voting?
Compulsory voting. How? They should go and expand the prisons. Because many Nigerians would rather go to prison
than to
go and vote in 2027 unless we are sure that the votes of the people will count. Not only Olisabakoba, Ikechukwu Amechi will not go near any polling booth in 2027 unless and until I am sure that my vote
will count.
Otherwise, why should I go there? Because, sorry, Olive, you are going there will only legitimize, and that is what they want to do. Because they're going to rig the election, but they'll be able to point back and say, 40 million Nigerians, 50 million Nigerians voted, when they know that it is not the votes that determined who got what. They're only trying to use it to legitimize the fraud, the one to commit. So I won't, even if they are going to jail me for 5 years, I'd rather spend the time in jail knowing that my not going to vote is a protest against the nonsense that has been going on.
All right, let's hear from Austin. Austin is calling from Asaba. Good morning, Austin. Please go ahead with your comment. All right, unfortunately, I was wondering if it was Austin Azu. Let's quickly head down to the Nigerian Tribune, the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. Many stories. Edun Bagudu Tijani rekindle hope on Nigeria's economy. Shadow government, DSS acted within bounds, legal expert says. I'm sure that's a story that I'd like for us to take. Ibadan Airport to begin international flights early next year, according to Oyo government. Wow. So, depending, if Lagos Airport is not really giving me a nice vibe, I can just go and fly from Ibadan, go to IITA, do a weekend there, and from there
and there's an agro airport, international agro airport in Ogun State. You can import or export your food, your produces.
You see,
yes, to avoid post-harvest loss.
Wow, that's amazing. We're making progress. Obi clarifies stance on 2027 coalition, says he remains in Labour Party. National Constitution Summit. The Patriots Southwest delegates meet in Lagos on Thursday. Labour Party factions clash again. Oti Nenadi Usman-led NCC 6 court order stopping Abure from parading himself as chairman. Local government financial autonomy 1 year after Supreme Court judgment yet to be implemented. Konwa Tuvisi released 50 billion naira and allowance not for ASUU members alone. Let's start with shadow government. Patutomi has is setting up this shadow government to hold the government accountable. The DSS says, it's not legal and that they're going to, they've of course taken him to court and, this might end up leading to an arrest. Patutomi has said that at the end of the day, he's ready to do whatever it takes. If they like, they should come and arrest him. This is a situation where he's ready to die for, right? But let's get your thoughts on the legality or otherwise, or the importance or otherwise of the shadow government. Yesterday we had Dennis Amakri, who is retired director at the DSS, and he was saying that he thinks that what the DSS is doing is important, that what Patutomi is doing is unconstitutional because he's setting up another government, whereas what we run is a presidential and another parliament.
Government.
We have a presidential system of government and not a parliamentary system of government. But Patutomi is of the view that these people do not have executive powers. They're just there to serve as opposition, checkmates, to hold the government of the day, to account and to mirror what the government of the day can do differently. But let's get your thoughts on that.
Well, like you said, the matter is still is already in court. So I don't want to sound sub judice, but personally, I don't see what crime has been committed. Patutomi issued a statement clarifying. I don't know what the quarrel is all about, whether the quarrel is in the nomenclature, in the shadow government. And shadow government, what in real terms does it mean? They don't have any powers to do anything. What are they going to do? Is it that they will roll out their own budget?
Or sway ministers?
Is it that the ministers are going to be sworn in to do what? He is saying, and I think it is in line with what opposition ought to do, holding the government accountable. Now, many people have said that part of their disagreement with the so-called opposition as constituted now by PDP and Labour Party and all that, is that they have not provided an alternative vision of what they will do, different from what the government is doing now, if they are elected. Now, Patutomi and his group are saying that we are going to constitute a shadow government, in quote, and their responsibility is to act as a check and opposition on the government of the day and say, okay, if you wake up today and say you have solved all the security issues in the country by doing so, and so, some people could say, no, you've not, because you've not done so, and so, and that if you do it this way, it will be better. So there is nothing in my own reckoning, in my own understanding of what this step is all about, is there's nothing there that delegitimizes the government of the day. And there is nothing there that says that these people are going to constitute a parallel government. It's not a parallel government. If you ask me, I think it is a DSS that is just making a
mountain out of a molehill?
Mountain out of a molehill. This government must be held to account by all means not possible,
if they
as long as it is legal.
The nomenclature and not use shadow government or any government in it, would it make a huge difference?
Of course, this is an opposition government. The only thing is that part of Tommy used the word, like I said, the nomenclature, shadow government. People ought to hold the government to account. What we do here most times is to say, to provide alternative view, because all of us are working for the good of the country. It is, look, whether it is not about not liking Bola Ahmed Tinubu, or let me use even an extreme word, hurting him. Nobody hurts him. All we want is a government, is a country that works for all.
You just reminded me now of what His Excellency Peter Obi said, which will come to shortly. But let's take a call from Chude, calling from Enugu. Good morning, Chude. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Olive. Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Winker. And good morning, Mr.
Morning, Chude.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Ikeji for his representation on the mandatory voting issue. The thing is that they know that given what happened in 2023, sorry I'm taking you guys back because I know you moved on from this point. They know that people aren't going to troop out en masse again in 2027 to cast their votes given what happened in 2023. And for them to legitimize the rascality that is going to happen, because obviously from everything that's happening, I think we're heading towards there. For them to legitimize the rascality, the only thing now for them to do is to do the mandatory voting thing, meaning if people troop out the mass, then you can legitimize to say, 40 million people came out to vote. But when people aren't going out to the polling booths, there's an extent you can falsify the number, if that makes sense. So I think that every well-meaning Nigerian, just like the SSANU and the psychiatric was come out to say, every well-meaning Nigerian should stand up and speak, against it, because it's just rascality to the highest heavens. So I just want to thank the psychiatric for his clarity of thought regarding this issue, and I pray that News Central, keeps the light on this so that it doesn't, just get away, and then people aren't going to know what's happening, under the covers in the House of Assembly. So thank you guys for putting the light on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chude. So I know that Chude's audio was a bit rusty, but I was able to pick what he said. He was also aligning his thought with what Mr. Amici had said, saying that because of what happened at the 2023 elections, he doesn't think that people will troop en masse to the to the polls in 2027, and that if they do, it would legitimize whatever fraud is about to be committed, because they'll say, 40 million people came out to vote, just like what Mr. Amici had said, and he's saying that we should keep talking about it and keep the conversation on the front burner so it's not swept under the carpet.
And we also need to look at a very important issue, the National Assembly's tendency of putting very important issues to voice votes. I mean, we're not in a marketplace. You can't just shout, and that second reading that they claimed was passed, I could hear some nays, but maybe because the deputy Senate President is more inclined towards passing that bill, he claimed it was a yay. So, I mean, why can't they use electronic voting?
Why can't they use electronic voting? This is all part of the fraud that is going on look, in other climes, and a part of what people are assessed with lawmakers is their voting record.
Yeah, by their constituents. Yes.
People should be able to know what you voted for, why you voted for, and therefore, voting, there is the electronic method of voting that records whether Joe voted for A or voted for B. Now, for instance, the state of emergency in Rivers State, for crying out loud, even on that again, the Constitution says that two-thirds. How do you determine two-thirds by voice vote?
Yeah, and some of the seats were empty.
And so, particularly in the House of Representatives, so it doesn't make sense. If they are serious about what they are doing in the two chambers of the National Assembly, every vote
should be recorded.
There must be division. Those who voted for and those who voted against, so that we know the records, the voting records of the lawmakers. That will help in deciding whether
we are re-electing.
We will re-elect you, because if your constituents, for instance, those in Rivers State, if they don't agree with the imposition of a state of emergency, and the man they voted for went there to vote, and when it comes to time of
accountability,
reckoning, they should be able to say, no, this man went against the collective wisdom of all of us, and therefore
there should be consequences. Yeah.
There should be consequences. So they know what they are doing, why they have refused to adopt real voting, and they will go into voice vote and all that. It is all part of the fraud that we are practicing in the name of democracy.
Anyway, on a lighter note, I mean, those that have deeper voices will always get the yeas, and if you have experience in agberoism, when you say yay,
even we have even seen cases where the nays were louder.
Yes,
but and then they say,
and the presiding officer will simply bang his gavel and say,
the eyes have
it. The eyes have it, and that closes that. Who does that? What kind of democracy is that?
Anyway, let's look at the Daily Independent very quickly. I found a very interesting story there, page 29 of the Daily Independent there. CJN laments lingering delays in trial processes. We at first we thought the CJN, I mean, with the pedigree and everything that she holds, highly respectable, that we would see a paradigm shift in the way in which our judiciary works. But I mean, if the CJN is lamenting, what about the local man? And what is the NJC doing about it?
Is she not the chairperson of NJC?
Of course.
So what are we talking about? Why?
But she understands that there's a problem.
This is not the first time. Last week she also said,
doing about it?
It's not to talk about it, it's do something.
What's she doing about it? Now, Joe was talking about the pedigree and all that. I agree about pedigree, but the truth of the matter is that what is going on in the judiciary is an institutional rot that is not going to be. It doesn't matter what the CJN is saying. She's simply playing to the gallery. The judiciary is in crisis, and again, I don't see how anybody is doing anything to pull it out of the rot it is in today. Because at the end of the day, it sounds, I don't know if you read Professor Chide Odenkalo, because that guy is devoting almost his entire writing career to addressing the rot in the judiciary. And that also goes back to this issue of legislating compulsory voting. As long as the judiciary plays the dominant role it does in determining who won election and who did not win, all this nonsense will continue. We are not prepared for the institutional reforms that are needed to inspire growth in Nigeria. And as long as we continue pretending that all is well and refuse to do the needful, this nonsense will continue. If the CGN lies, let her also cry. She won't impress those who know what the issues are in the system. The judiciary is not where it should be. And as long as they continue doing what they are doing, it won't change anything.
And it's beyond talk.
Crying, talking won't solve the problem. We are not ready, like I said earlier, we are not ready to take the necessary steps to solve the problems that are bedeviling this country. If you say, they will tell you it didn't start with Nabola Ahmed Tinubu, and I agree. The rot has been there. But I thought he was elected to fix the problems.
Especially for his predecessor.
Or was he elected to continue deepening the rot? Because those who say it did not start with him, one fact also they can't take away is that nothing has changed for good since he came in. Instead, if we had 20% rot before he came in, it's almost 50% now, counting. So I'm not impressed by all the talk, particularly when those doing the talking are in a position
to effect some measure of change.
Could it be that their hands are tied too? Maybe they want to make a change, and then there's the powers that be.
They are part of the conspiracy. If their hands are tied, which is a possibility, all I'm saying is that they are part of the conspiracy to tie their own hands. They willingly presented their hands to be handcuffed by whoever is handcuffing them. And they have a choice. If you are in a system where you can't operate, you resign. You resign. Nothing says you must
save your
just like the Edo Deputy Speaker resigned.
Yeah.
Because we saw that on the Daily Independent.
Exactly.
Edo Deputy Speaker resigned.
Because now the woman
equity and integrity.
said, because of the defection, now PDP that used to be in the majority in the House is in the minority. And she said, my position as the Deputy Speaker is no longer tenable because PDP is no longer the party in majority. And she quit. So people don't resign, and they are coming out every day to say all manner of things. Their hands are tied. Oh, the system is this. Then why are you there if you can't make a positive change? If the system was bad before you came in, it behoves you as the new kid on the block to say, no, this was what was wrong before I came in. And this and this and this are the changes I'm going to, for the sake of legacy. People don't think about leaving legacies in this
or posterity.
No, it's not.
Country. You simply want to continue with the status quo, and they come back to tell us that
it's an honor that we have to wrap up today.
But they name buildings after them.
And head out of the studio. Mr. Amechi reminded me of a typical Nigerian parent that say, if you like cry, it sounds like if you like cry blood. But we want to see the changes. He's speaking so passionately because, of course, we certainly want to see changes in the judiciary and all the other sectors that uphold the rule of law and democracy as it should be. But until we join you again, thank you very much. Stay tuned. We have much more coming today. I am Olive MOD.
And I'm Benga Bora. I'd like to wish my darling sister, Buki Rice, a happy birthday. I love you, sis.
I thought you were about to wish Catherine Obiang again.
No, her birthday has passed.
Okay, happy birthday to
Till
Benga.
next year. She can't just be getting such glory on a daily basis.
See you tomorrow.